Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable President, the expansion of growth and market access in the agricultural industry for upcoming farmers is very important. It will, however, not occur when one part of the industry is sacrificed to the benefit of another part of the same industry. It is of utmost importance that the much-needed growth in access to markets for previously disadvantaged small and emerging farmers must take place. It must, however, grow parallel to the growth in access to the markets that commercial farmers who employ millions of people experience. What assurances, Mr. President, can you therefore provide to farmers that the steps that will be taken for the necessary increase in the concentration of access to markets for previously disadvantaged small and emerging farmers will not influence the access to markets that commercial farmers currently have, but rather that the access to markets for both emerging and commercial farmers will grow simultaneously, and in so doing, transfer emerging farmers to commercial farmers. Thank you, Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I think the operative word here should be opening up access to all. And that process, for instance, is already underway. And I give a very good example with the citrus industry. In the citrus industry, you've got the established farmers who are churning out quite a lot of citrus, but we've also got the emerging black farmers who are also producing citrus. Now, as we advocate the opening up of the European market, we do so for both. We want to advance both, but we also want the existing farmers to give maximum support to the emerging farmers through the facilities that they have, for instance, pack houses. Emerging farmers don't have pack houses. There should be sharing of space and opportunity, for instance, in facilities or infrastructure facilities, such as pack houses, such as transportation as well. So if we can have both of them grabbing the opportunities that are given rise to, with the government obviously giving much more assistance to emerging farmers. And I think we need to be clear about that. The government will be biased towards assisting emerging farmers. And existing farmers must never think that this is being done at the expense of their continued success. So all must succeed at the same time, but with greater emphasis on government side to support those who were previously held back and who were previously not even allowed to play a key role. So I see both being given, yes, the opportunities to rise together, but our emphasis as government will always be on assisting black farmers because they need much more support. And remembering, of course, that the existence of the more established white farmers was done with the great assistance of the previous apartheid government. It was the apartheid government that propped them up, that put them where they are today. So their own responsibility must be, we must support those that were previously prevented. We must also accept that government is going to assist those more so that all of us are then able to rise. And it's not a question of saying we want to suppress the one so that the other should go. We're saying all must be able to rise together. That is the approach of this government, because it is important that we should be able to have an economic system or sector in agriculture that promotes growth. But as we promote growth, the bias will always be towards those who were previously disadvantaged. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Zibi.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, there are many South Africans from rural communities, such as mine in the Eastern Cape, who have access to arable land, but zero access to piped water specific to where we farm crops and do stock farming. What measures is the government going to take to accelerate access to piped water, to stock and crop farming lands in rural areas, so that when these measures are taken to deconcentrate at the top, and when they are supported with modern farming methods, advice, and other equipment, they too can be part of the formal economy so that they can benefit from the deconcentration of the value chains. I thank you.
The Honourable the President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Access to water, for starters, and access to piped water, even in the deep rural areas, is a very important objective that we have. And remembering that the current more commercial agriculture setup that we have in our country really grew because there was a great deal of support to your commercial farmers for channeling water for irrigation purposes to the places where they do their own trade or where they farm. So therefore, as we support emerging farmers, black farmers, we do need to lay emphasis on the key important resource in farming, which is water. And of course, the other one is finance, the other one is know-how or technical skills, which were eroded during the time of dispossession. We need to bring that back, and that is why we're also focusing on having extension officers trained so that they can increase the experience and the knowledge level of our people. So on water specifically, as a water-scarce country, as we begin to deal with the challenge that our people, just in terms of their daily lives, not having sufficient water, we also need to address the water that they should have available for farming purposes. And that is why the farming and the water regulatory process is becoming more and more favorable to those who were previously disadvantaged. And of course, it has to deal with infrastructure. The infrastructure challenge of being able to go to a water source and being able to deliver water to where our people are is the key one. And that is where financial resources become a big determinant, but the willingness and the objective to do so is there. The Department of Water and Sanitation is committed to ensuring that we address this, but so in the end are other departments. For instance, agriculture is also going to be focusing on ensuring that farming becomes an important, and as it is, an important aspect of our economic growth trajectory. And as we do so, we need to know and have a clear objective of ensuring that water, a key resource in farming, does become accessible to those farmers in the outlying areas. So as we address through water and sanitation, the whole process of giving water to our people by constructing dams and all that, we should be able to address the need that there is amongst our people in the rural areas for the delivery of water where they are, not only for living purposes, but also for commercial purposes. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Trollip.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable President, access to markets presupposes that there are commercially viable and marketable products available. The emerging agricultural sector that I worked in remains emerging, despite the targets that you've mentioned, due to the following: poorly performing comprehensive agricultural support program and its extension services, 50% underspending on the land development and support program, where hundreds of millions of rands have been lost. And this is compounded by the fact that no new dams have been built, crumbling road and rail infrastructure, the worst international ports productivity performance by our export ports, that compromises the quality and value of all perishable and livestock exports. And the banning of South African exports by neighboring countries is compounding this. What will be done differently to reverse these findings of the Auditor General that say that there is no culture shift in the department and that the legacy report of the past administration in agriculture has reported to the committee? They say nothing's changing, Honourable President.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Yes, the challenges are immense. I must admit that we face a number of challenges. The lack of support to emerging farmers has been the bane of our problems over quite a long time, and the absence of extension officers. One country that has done extremely well, as I got to know, is Ethiopia. They made it a point to train 40,000 extension officers. And having trained so many, that just revolutionized their agriculture and made agriculture a big contributor to their GDP. Now, we have been making steps or taking steps to increase the level of extension officers. But those extension officers are often young people who themselves know very little about farming. And this is where the more established farmers, commercial farmers, can play a key role in assisting the training and the preparation and capacitation of the extension officers that we need. Every farmer, particularly your emerging sector, needs extension advice on an ongoing basis. And the underspending, you're absolutely right, is something that has also bogged us down. Now, not establishing and building new dams is another challenge. And we often want to spend too much money in building dams, and yet there are new innovative ways of constructing dams more cost-effectively. It means that we need to mobilize engineers who are more attuned to new ways of building dams, because yes, you're right, it is through the trapping of water that often ends up in the sea that we will be able to increase agriculture and improve opportunities that farmers can have, emerging farmers. Because quite a lot of our land lies derelict because of lack of water. And if we can, as you correctly say, build new dams, that is precisely what we can do now. Department of Land Affairs and Rural Development, as well as Agriculture, are going to be focusing on precisely these challenges that we face, and making sure that even with agreements between ourselves and our neighboring countries, we've had a challenge between South Africa and Namibia, as well as Botswana. And all those matters are now going to be negotiated so that we continue to have that access, as we would want them to have access to our own market with whatever produce that they are able to have. Because in some cases, they are saying they want to block our products so that they can increase their own capacity. They are much smaller populations, and in no time, they should be able to produce their own, and they will need a market, and we should be their market. So all these challenges, Honorable Trollip, are matters that are on our radar screen. They are matters that are going to be addressed, and I would even encourage that our parliamentary committees that are seized with matters such as these should increase the tempo of their attention so that at the government level we are able to focus on what is important. Agriculture can and will be a great job creator, and we need to focus on all those subsectors of agriculture that can be good job creators that can lead to development and the continued entry of black emerging farmers into agriculture, into various sectors. I should say that that is continuing to happen, but we need to hasten that pace. And you say that there hasn't been much progress. We need to hasten that, but in a number of subsectors of agriculture, it is beginning to happen. We're seeing more and more activity. And I've just been hugely impressed by seeing how many citrus farmers, how many black farmers are now in the citrus industry. And in the citrus industry where they are actually exporting as well. In the sugar industry, we're dealing with a lot of small-scale farmers, particularly in places like KZN and Mpumalanga. So these are small-scale farmers that continue needing assistance and support. And we need to spread that more to get into grains, to get into maize. In livestock, there's a plethora of emerging black farmers who are in livestock. So we do need to get into the other niche areas where black farmers can participate well. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Question